Hi, Mason Wooldridge with If You Live It. Quick introduction to this week's video on forgiveness. We all want it. We all need it. We've all been told our entire life, you got to forgive, got to get over it. But how do you actually do it? What is the mechanism? What are the steps? How can you actually get to the root of forgiveness? It was lost on me for a long time. Maybe it's lost on you. At the root of forgiveness is forgiving yourself, seeing where you are holding on to a story, a grudge, a judgment, a resentment, something stopping you from letting that thing go from that other person, that other place. Forgiveness does not mean we put ourselves back into these situations that put us into a place where maybe we're harm's way or jeopardized in some way. So let's look at the timestamps real quick. Timestamp number 1, we go into creating a fearless and moral inventory. We use If You Live It as a pathway to do this. Timestamp number 2, we share that with someone. Timestamp number 3, we go into becoming ready to give this stuff over to a power greater than ourselves. Timestamp number 4, we give it to a power greater than ourselves. How does it work? What does it look like? Timestamp number 5, we create our list of who we're going to go make an amends to, because once we've been forgiven, it's time to forgive the world around us, clean up our side of the street. And then timestamp number 6, we go into the amends process, completing forgiveness for ourselves, the world around us, and we move into a place where we're more loved than we were starting, where miracles are taking place and where your whole life has changed. Again, I'm Mason Wooldridge. Peace, love, ifyouliveit.com, at If You Live It on YouTube and all other places. I'm out of here. Welcome to If You Live It. I'm Mason Wooldridge, the founder, the author, the creator, the channel for all of this information to come to you directly from God, directly from the Holy Spirit, directly from a power greater than ourselves, directly from the universe, directly from what it is that has it, delivering it to any of those who have been praying for it, asking for it, desiring it, hoping this information would be provided. In our last Friday video, we looked at surrender. What it is, how do you do it? How does If You Live It help in this process? The really how do you do it portion of surrender. Our entire lives, at least this entire life, I have wondered for most of life till about 8 years ago, how do you actually surrender? How do you actually let go? So many people will tell you to surrender, will tell you to let go. Just let go. Just let go and let God. There are all these things that have valuable information to them, merit to them, that at basically our present time have become cliches because so many people use them or overuse them without giving any substance or merit to the actual practicality, applicable nature of how to do these things, that they pass in one ear and out the other. So last week we dove into surrender specifically, looking at the first 3 steps of If You Live It. This week, this video, this Friday conversation, we're diving into forgiveness, which is a big one. Surrender and forgiveness are the 2 spiritual principles that, if applied to our lives regularly, start dismantling the clouds. They are 2 of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal. We have gratitude, will be next week. And then the final part that we're going to add to this, which was originally a 3-part series, but we're going to turn it into a 3+1, is service. The 4 aspects of the program of If You Live It. We have surrender, we have forgiveness, gratitude, and service. The program encompasses all of them. It uses the heart, the mind, the soul, the body, the brain, everything in its way to find God imminent. And then it's a workable pathway to move through those things, to deliver the practitioner of such to a level of love or above on the scale of consciousness, Dr. Hawkins' map of consciousness. You can check that out on your own. What we talked about last time also was consciousness itself, that it was and is the context and the backdrop for all things, all content to arise out of. These videos, I have no idea what's going to be shared with you. Mason has gotten out of the way and surrendered over the mouth, talkingness, the entirety of this project to the Holy Spirit to allow God to deliver to you what it is that God so desires to deliver to you. When we use the word God, you could substitute any other term for the infinite nature of that which we arise out of, that which is greater than us. In the worlds of AA rooms and NA rooms and any anonymous rooms, they use really the term a power greater than yourself, which is perfectly applicable. The only thing that will guide the conversation today are steps 4 through 9 of If You Live It. And so the way this video will be broken down, it will be broken down into those 6 pieces. In the surrender video that was last Friday, we looked at steps 1 through 3. Today, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. The gratitude video, we'll look at steps 10, 11, and 12, how you actually do it, how you are grateful, not pretending to be, not making a gratitude list begrudgingly. This one is forgiveness. This is the root and the heart of Jesus' message. In John, in the book of John, one of the 4 Gospels, we get the declaration, or really the request of God when Jesus is at the moment of crucifixion, where the request is made, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. That is at the root of unconditional love, which was the whole basis of this week's kind of journey. Whether we dive deeper into joy and chapter 11 of If You Live It, it's about unconditional love. And so today is a way to help you see more love in your life, to find more peace in your life, to find yourself arriving at the doorsteps of being love for the world, of being unconditional love for the world, of your subjective experience being that which is the embodiment of forgive them for they know not what they do, where you can actually walk in the footsteps of Jesus and understand that Jesus is not the religion, but that the religion lovingly points back to the opportunity to emulate the Christ so that you can experience heaven on earth while here as well. The kingdom of heaven is within. It's not somewhere else. It's waiting for you to notice it, to see it, to make the choice to be one with it. This is not a conversation about Christianity or religion per se, but the personage of Jesus is the embodiment of love, is the embodiment of forgiveness, is the sponsor of it, was here to give us a pathway to see it in action. Okay, so we're going to talk about Jesus today. If that offends you, this isn't the channel for you. If talking about God offends you, this isn't the video for you. This entire thing of If You Live It is rooted in the humility to be able to realize we are creators, but not the entirety of the infinite creator, so that we have an opportunity to see that what we really are is one with the creator. That's a beautiful, beautiful blessing when you come from that place of seeing the self with a capital S and having that realization that what you are is God, and that what everything is God, and that this entire thing is not separate from, but a part of the infinite Alpha and Omega of all things from all times, present, here, now, always, and forever. Not separate from, not over there judging us, but here, now, you, me, all of us. So let's dive right in. We're going to dive into step 4. And then we're going to talk about it a little bit, and we'll see what the Holy Spirit has to say. Then we'll go into 5, and so on and so forth, until we finish with 9. I don't know how long this video will be. Could be a long one, could be a short one. See what is here to be shared with you. Okay, so let's dive into step 4. Step 4. I choose to make a fearless and searching moral inventory of my life, leaving out nothing of consequence. How do we know how to start in the forgiveness process? How do we know what needs to be forgiven? You start with creating an inventory. People, places, things, institutions, ideas, groups, political parties, anything that you have an active resentment towards, anything that you have a fear over, anything that you have an aversion of goes on this list. It could be a parent. It could be a spouse, it could be a child, it could be a coworker, it could be an ex, it could be an in-law, it could be family, it could be once friends, it could be someone that just passed you on the road and cussed you out for not seeing them when you turned into the lane. It can be the IRS, it can be the new or previous presidential administrations, it could be anything that are people, place, things, institutions, ideas, anything. That's how we start with it. We start with a list. We start with a list of where are we actively holding a resentment towards? Are we holding it towards our sister-in-laws, our brother-in-laws, our nephews, our cousins, our nieces? Are we holding it towards our parents? Are we holding it towards the job we currently have? Are we holding it towards God? We start with a fearless and moral inventory. What this could look like for you personally is not creating a fearless and moral inventory. It could just be putting a list down on paper of who are you actively mad at? Who do you believe you deserve an apology from? What in this world do you have an aversion to? Meaning it just gives you the willies. It's something you don't want to embrace. You don't want to see that boss. You don't want to see that coworker. You don't want to see that person in your parking space. You don't want to see that neighbor. You don't want to see that community worker, that advocate, that whatever it is, who do you actively have a resentment of? Now, when I was working through these steps, for alcoholism, not to transcend the ego at the time, this came much later, but for an addiction to alcohol, when I went through these steps, I didn't feel like I had any active resentments, any active things that I was angry at personally. So what I did is I asked God, I said, let's create this list starting from age 0 all the way to the time of being 32 when I was doing this, going into about to be 33. And so I put number 1 on the paper. And then on the top of the piece of paper, I wrote down a prayer. And the prayer was, Lord, please let me see what it is I need to see so that I can let go of what needs to be let go of. And something miraculous started happening. From 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, it didn't matter. All of a sudden, all of these images and memories and thoughts and feelings and emotions and situations and stimuli started rising into awareness. And I started writing them down. And not all of them were places I was angry or resentment or fearful over, but all of these memories started coming in, and it started creating this collage of an entire life, this kaleidoscope of moments that was being written down on paper that was furiously scribbling and penning down. And what I was able to do is look back over that going into the 5th step, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. I was able to see this entire life and all these moments that aren't usually part of my day-to-day experiences of thinking back on or coming into awareness, or they were lodged in there and they came up. And I started seeing groupings of people, whether it be my mother, whether it be previous relationships, whether it be the female gender in specific, whether it be friends, whether it be people that I picked on, whether it be teachers, it didn't matter. All of a sudden, all these lists and all these things started being created. And I was able to go through and see basically from that, how do I now apply this into the 5th step? And we'll get into that. But what it was is, where do we start with this list? And if you don't want to write something down, I highly recommend writing it down, because something happens neurologically when we write something down and we get it outside of our head. But if you're just going to sit here and watch this, press pause for a minute and just think to yourself, who do I have an aversion towards? Where am I holding resentments? Where is my anger pointed? What do I feel judgmental over? What positions am I holding? Where are my positionalities? And just see what comes into mind. See if it's that boss, if it's that romantic partner, if it's that friend, that acquaintance. Who is it in your life? What is it in your life that you're hiding from, that you're running from, that has created fear or confusion around with regards to people, places, things, institutions, ideas, or otherwise anything else that you could come up with? So when we start talking about forgiveness and we use an actual definable pathway to move through it, where it's actually about forgiving, it's actually about coming from a place where you embody forgive them for they know not what they do, start with a list. Start with a list of all the things that come to mind that you actively are angry at. God can be on that list. Deceased parents can be on that list. Society can be on that list. Political structures can be on that list. And so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. Okay, so start with the list. That's number 1 in this process of forgiveness, of actually forgiving, getting to the root of forgiveness, being able to let go of these things that we aim towards other people. So step 1 was the 4th step in the program. And what I've done is I've printed off pages of the book that's going to come out here in May 5th. The release of If You Live It, the book, is going to be available on all platforms. All of this information is coming from the book, If You Live It. You can find it on the website, ifyouliveit.com. A lot of cool things are happening on the website. There's some videos up that are going specifically into what is happening on the website. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people from around the world are finding the website, are reading the posts, are going into our catalog and looking back at videos and the content. And I mean, it's incredible what's taking place on the website right now, as well as our YouTube channel and other places. YouTube is thousands. We're almost up to 30,000 subscribers. We're close to 10,000 plus hours of watch time. It's incredible what is taking place. Our website, I mean, India, Russia, China, Canada, United States, the Philippines, New Zealand, everywhere. I mean, it's actually pretty incredible how many People from around the world in different societies and different cultures are finding this and finding value in this. And one of the neat things about the website is you can see how long different people are spending on different parts of it. And I'm seeing that people are reading this, are looking at this, are going from one thing to another, and a community is starting to be built. And it's amazing to watch happen, to see what God is doing here. So we looked at the first part, fearless and moral inventory of where we feel we have wronged or where we're holding hurt resentments. Okay, so moving into step 5 of the program of If You Live It, I admitted to God, myself, and to another human being the exact nature of my findings. This is a very important part of what we do with the 4th step. And let's go back just a little bit before we fully dive into 5th. Once you have made this fearless and searching moral inventory, there is an entire matrix that you can find online. That's a worksheet, 4-step worksheet. It's a 4-step inventory worksheet. You can Google that. You can find it. It's going to be in the back of our book as a resource. We'll probably do an entire video in the near future just on this worksheet, and we'll go through it together and we'll talk about it. But what you do is when you have the people, places, things, and institutions, current aversions, resentments, angers towards, positions, so on and so forth, on this worksheet are really 4 categories. Category 1 is the person, place, thing, or institution, blah, 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 blah. And you put the single thing down on that. So if you had 20 things on your list, you take number 1 and you put it on there. Let's say it's your mother. You put mom on there. And then the next category is the what. So who is the first? What is the second? Meaning, what did they do? What have they done? What do they continue to do that is causing this anger to you? Okay. Then the next part is my part to play. Or excuse me, the third category is affects my. And when you go down into the affects my, it's really a checkbox. It's my personal relations. It's my self-esteem. It's my financial state. It's my personal security, so on and so forth. And what you do is you go down here and you see where you think this person's action or actions affects some aspect of your life. Okay. And then what we really see in that is where the seed of fear is, where the root of fear is in that. Then you move into the 4th category, my part to play. All right. And in my part to play, you are checking a few boxes or no boxes or one of several. And it's really, where have I been selfish, self-seeking, dishonest, and desiring of attention? And there's some others, but those are 4 that we could talk about. And then my part to play follows that, meaning what we see when we start working this fearless and searching moral inventory into this worksheet is we start seeing that the root of everything that we feel wronged by, the root of all of our anger, the root of our resentments, the root of our opinions, the root of our positions, the root of our judgments, the root of our fears is something within us that we're holding on to that needs to be let go of, that needs to be forgiven, that needs to be surrendered, that needs to be worked through, okay? Then we move into step 5, which we'll jump back into, which is, one more time, let's read it out loud. I admitted to God, myself, and to another human being the exact nature of my findings. You take that 4th step that you work through and you sit down with a trusted confidant, a counselor, a therapist, a priest, a friend, your sponsor if you have one, and you go through what you found. You go through who it was, what they did, where you think the fear is coming from, affects your what. Remember, self-esteem, self-worth, financial security, so on and so forth. Then you look at where have I been wronged, dishonest, selfish, self-seeking in this. And then you move into my part to play. And when I say this out loud, you may be going, I haven't done anything. You may have done nothing for them to act that particular way towards you. That's not what this is about. What you're holding on to is what this is about. What you're continuing to belabor on, what you're ruminating over, what you're giving energy to, what you're hiding from. That is your part to play. We can be selfish in not forgiving this person, in holding them to a different standard, in expecting them to be different, in allowing ourselves to be put back into these positions of being owned by them in some particular way because we feel like we have to financially or otherwise. What we see when we really do this 4-step and we move into 5 where we start talking about with someone is that we see our part to play is not in maybe the situation at hand that took place, the single stimuli, the event, but in how we've interpreted it and how we ruminate on it and how we decide it's bad or good or indifferent, or something that we're just not going to look at and hide from. Fifth step, I admitted to myself, God, and another person the exact nature of my findings. This is extremely important because what you're doing is out loud, you are relaying to another person what you found. They're not judging, they're not commenting, they're just listening. They're taking notes, and they're there from their end. They are looking to see where's their similarities, where are their patterns, is there something that's speaking to them about a truth that they're seeing that maybe you're not seeing. This is an extremely, extremely important part of forgiveness because we're being vulnerable. We're humbling ourselves in the presence of God and another person with the truth of our life and delivering it to them, allowing them to see who we are, warts and all, under the veil of our ego. This fourth and fifth step is where most people stop this program. This fourth and fifth step, the reason that it's the root of the forgiveness process, is the very same reason why most people don't actually forgive another person, or why they think that to forgive them is letting them off the hook. Forgiving someone is letting you off the hook. Forgiving someone is allowing room in your life for more love to be present. Forgiving another is what gives you the opportunity to start finding freedom and the space you need to move on and move past and allow more to come into your life, not less to be present in your life. And so the entire fifth step process, you can go back to this particular chapter in the videos on YouTube, or you can go back to this particular chapter on the website. You can go to our catalog tab on ifyouliveit.com. You can go down to the chapters. You can go down into the diving deeper. You can go down into the collection of content. You can go to the book and you can find this particular chapter and learn more about this step. But step 4 created a fearless and moral searching inventory. Step 5, we take that inventory and we admit to ourselves, God, and another person out loud what we found. It's extremely important. One of the best ways that our brains find dopamine and really serotonin, but an equilibrium where more love can be present from a neurotransmitter standpoint is in community, is in vulnerability, is in talking to another and opening up to another and allowing them to know us, and then realize that we're not judged by them, and then allow them to give back to us some of the information they found while we were giving this step. So step 4 and 5, create the list. Tell someone what you found within the list. Step 6, I am entirely ready to have God remove my attachments to the baggage of life found through steps 4 and 5. So what we're doing in step 6 is we are priming the forgiveness of ourselves. We're priming it with some surrender. We're priming it with saying we are ready to give up what we found as a definition of who we are moving forward. We are telling God, we're telling a power greater than ourselves, what we found is no longer worth holding on to. Thank you for showing me what I found. Thank you for giving me this pathway. And now, Lord, I am coming to you and saying, I'm ready for you to remove these defects of character I found, to remove these places that I held on to these resentments, to put me in a place where I am forgiven for judging others, for my part to play, where I am finding relief in the removal of this baggage. It's an extremely important part. All of these are, because what they are is we are directing our intent towards a direction in all of this. All these steps is a direction our intent is moving towards. When we contextualize forgiveness, and we have the bulk of this program surrounding forgiveness, that tells us that forgiveness is not only extremely important, but is the most belabored thing that we have to work through in order to truly forgive. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean putting ourselves back in that position. It doesn't mean continuing to be physically assaulted by the person that has physically assaulted us. It doesn't mean allowing our life to remain stagnant in what creates these resentments and issues. It allows us to see our part to play so that we can have the courage needed, the fortitude needed, the desire to ask for the help that's needed to move into a place where we're not putting ourselves back into the lens of forgetting and allowing it to happen all over again. These steps help create the end to insanity, the end to doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. If you desire forgiveness, if you desire to be forgiven, if you desire to actually embody and emulate Jesus so you can have your own experience with heaven being found within while here, not somewhere else at another time, here for the rest of your life, You have to direct your intent on a pathway of how to do it. So we made a list, we put it through the categories, we share that information, and then we have our intent set on we are ready to give this to a power greater than ourselves. Those three things are important in succession, okay? Because they set up what comes next. Step 7. Lord, please remove from my life the scars of the past, all of my attachments to what I once believed myself to be. Allow me to see you more clearly moving forward and provide me the grace to forgive myself, you, and the world for where I once felt wronged. We primed the request. We set our intent towards something greater than ourselves to remove these things that were found, to deliver us into a place where forgiveness is a reality. Now we're into step 7. Please remove from my life the scars of the past, our attachment to them, our aversion to them, our belief we are them having any definable merit to who we believe we are any longer. All of my attachments to what I once believed myself to be. There is no way that you can integrally work steps 4 and 5 and any longer believe you are what you were before you started these. Before you started the forgiveness process, it's impossible because you start cutting through the nonsense of the mind, the nonsense of self-judgment, the nonsense of holding on to angers and resentments and fears. And you see that what you are is something that is far greater than that, not quite those things, and also someone who has these things arise but are not these things, okay? Allow me to see more clearly moving forward, to see you more clearly moving forward, and provide me the grace to forgive myself, you, and the world for where I once felt wronged. When we see where we once wronged another, it becomes easier for us to forgive them for wronging us and people in the future. Because at the root of forgiveness is seeing ourselves in another. It's seeing them in us. It's seeing the world in both. It's understanding everyone is a mirror for us and we are a mirror for everyone else. And the same things that we struggle with, the same things that we hold on to that are our resentments, our angers, our fears, our judgments, are the same things that other people are doing. And what you get to the root of is you see that we all suffer from this thing called ignorance. Ignorant that the way someone else sees something doesn't mean it's better or worse than, but it doesn't mean that's who we are, and vice versa. That's someone's subjective reality projecting out from them into the world based on how they feel about themselves. And when you've given this to a power greater than yourself, when you've got to step 7 and you have legitimately done this, there is a relief that has already taken place. There are miracles that have already started to take place. 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's move into 8. Step 8. Made a list of all the people, places, and things I harmed along the way, and am willing to make an amends to them all. For this particular step, to get here, we've made our moral inventory. We've shared what we found with another. We've primed our intent to give over what we found to God, to give over the judgments and the fears. We've given them to a power greater than ourselves to come in and remove these things and allow us to find more peace. And now we move into cleaning up our side of the street. It's not about moving into a world where we're going to go ask for forgiveness for another. It's because we have already been forgiven and seen our ignorance and the foibles that are part of it that gives us the opportunity to go to another that we have wronged or another thing or an institution and make the amends. And that's what step 8 is. Step 8 is made a list of all the people, places, and things I harmed along the way and am willing to make amends to them all. For step 8, we go back to that moral inventory and we look at the people, the places, and the things that we found we harmed, that we found we held judgments towards, that we saw our part to play in, where fear was hiding the truth of the situation from us, that we indeed had a part to play in this. Again, not a part to play in the stimuli of someone doing something to us, a part to play in how we told a story about that from that point forward, how the trauma manifested in us, how we didn't let it out, how it built, how it created an entire paradigm of existence for subjective reality of how we see the world based on some uninvestigated stimuli that happened, how we judged ourselves because of it, how we judged the world because of it. That's what we're finding. That's what we're giving away. And here what we're doing is where we've held these resentments, where we have done something where we see we actually did to another, we bring this list in from the 4th step for this 8th one, and then we prime ourselves to go make the amends. Okay, so if you haven't quit by step 4, most people quit by step 8 and 9. Because there's another fear that arises primarily in step 4 and 5 and 8 and 9, somewhere in that process, which the ego knows its days are numbered. The mind realizes it is about to lose total control over your life because you're going to witness more miracles arise. You're going to witness more peace. There are no longer going to be these wedge issues that keep you separated from another, that keep you blocked off from the sunlight of the spirit, that keep the clouds above your head and the wall in front of your face. When you walk through steps 4 and 5, when you walk through the fear, the illusion that somehow someone is going to get away with something if you do this, and you get all the way to the place where you're ready to make an amends to these people. What you see is from step 8, where let's read it one more time. Made a list of all the people, places, things I harmed along the way, and am willing to make amends to them all. There are several different ways we make an amends before we jump into it. The way that we can think about this, to finalize step 8, we become willing to. And where is the willingness come from? The willingness comes from the fact that we have been forgiven ourselves, that we have forgiven ourselves, God, and the world around us, that we no longer hold animosity towards in a deep-seated way. We no longer point towards that which is outside of ourselves as that which defines how we feel about ourselves from within. We see that the outside world is but a projection of stories we tell about ourselves inside the mind. So when we move into step 9, where we go to make these direct amends where possible, when only doing so will not injure the other or yourself. And let's read that now. I made direct amends to who I could where possible, only doing so free of injury to them, myself, and others in our life. You have 2 real amends processes. You have what's called a direct amends, where you're going to make it directly to someone via a phone call, via in-person, via Zoom function, best to do in person. And then you have a living amends. Let's go through the first one. What is a direct amends, and how do you do this? So we saw in step 4, we made our inventory. We saw where we actually wronged ourselves with how we held on to things. 5, we gave it to another. 6, we primed ourselves to let go of this. 7, we asked God to remove these things, to forgive us fully once and for all. 8, we made this list based off of our 4-step inventory. 9, we're in this process of making an amends. Let's say there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 50 things. Usually there's only a handful of people or places or things that you have to make an amends to. In this particular experience, I had to make an amends to my mother, was one on the list. And I had judged her and made decisions about her and created entire stories surrounding her life and my life and our life together, and had these resentments towards her that were unfounded, that were not real, that were based in lies, illusions, and stories I had told myself. Once you have a person on this list that you're ready to make an amends to, first you say, Lord God, I surrender this list over to thee. Please allow those who it is I need to make an amends to, and those institutions I need to make an amends to, please allow that to present itself, and the opportunity to do so present itself. And then what you do is you reach out. You reach out via a text, reach out via a call, via an email, direct message, whatever it is for you to get to this person. And basically tell them you're working through a 12-step program, and you've reached a part where you're making amends, and they are someone you would like to make an amends to. And you're asking them for the opportunity to do that based on their schedule and what they see as an opportunity for you to get together. In this process, we're not reaching back out to people who would put us in harm's way. We're not reaching out to those who, let's say, we have cheated on and are now happily married with children, and to reach back out to them would bring up scars and wounds that would not be positive for them or for us. But there will be those that you will make a direct amends to in this forgiveness process. And for me, it was my mother. So what I did, if I remember correctly, I think I texted her and I said, hey, are you free for a call? And I called her and I said, hey, Mom, I'm going through this program. Do you have time for us to get together where I can make an amends? And then what I did is I drove 6 or 7 hours away to meet with her and sit down in a coffee shop and go through this process that is the 9th step, which we'll go into here a little bit more, which is where you sit down with this person. You have your 4th and 5th step. You have what it is you found, and you share that with them. And you give them a few rules. And the rules are, thank you. First off, thank you for meeting me. Second off, how this goes is there are direct things that I want to bring to your attention that I know I was wrong in. And you deliver those and you say, and you will have plenty of time to tell me more or to talk once I'm finished. And I welcome that and I will shut up and listen to you. But for now, I need to get this out and then I will allow you to say whatever it is you need to say. And then when you're done, you let them say whatever it is they need to say. You don't make excuses. You don't beat around the bush. You don't hide from it. You let them tell you what it is. Then, once they have told you, you ask them, how can you make this right? And let them give you an idea of what it is you could do to make this right with them. When this process was done with my mother, she told me a bunch of stuff when it was her time to talk that I had no idea how she felt. She opened up to me about her life, her childhood, how she deals with things, adulthood, being a parent that I had no idea that she went through. I had a whole new level of appreciation for my mother once this was over. And she simply said to me, how you make this right is start checking in regularly. And check in without wanting anything. And that was how that was made right. Now, a living amends. Let's say you stole from someone and you've seen this in your fourth and fifth step, that at the root of you stealing from them and having a resentment towards them was actually fear around them calling you out on stealing this. And the fear, the root of it was that your self-esteem was hit because you thought you were less than because they called you out on this or because you think you deserve this or whatever. And now this person's passed away. You can't get in contact with this person. They don't want to meet with you. Okay. If someone doesn't want to meet with you, they don't have to meet with you. Don't badger them. Don't belabor it. Don't beat them up over it. They don't want to meet with you. Let's say you stole $250 from someone. And a living amends would be that you are no longer going to steal from anyone else. That you're going to take that $250 you owe them and you're going to give it to a cause. You're going to give it as a tip. You're going to give it to someone in need. We make things right regardless of being able to get with this person or this thing. If you owe back taxes, it's about going and paying your taxes. Getting on a payment plan, sitting down with an accountant, whatever it takes for you to make that right so you're not hiding from the government anymore, you make that right. When you start making things right, other fears will arise. But what happens is, as you continue to choose the next right thing and making that situation right, more love starts filling you up. More courage becomes part of your reality. More acceptance in what the world is starts bleeding in. And all of a sudden, these bits and pieces of love start flashing into your face as who you are and what you are. And paying that back taxes is one of the greatest gifts you'll ever have in your entire life. And you actually look forward to paying it off because the freedom that comes from it is no longer hiding from the tax man. So many of our fears, so many of our resentments, so many of our aversions, so many of our positions, so many of our judgments, they actually build the wall around us that keep us trapped, that keep us small, that keep the sunlight out. They're the clouds that we put up above us that keep the sun from shining on our face. We build these walls. We build these resentments. We build these smaller lives because we hold on to these fears. We hold on to not forgiving. We hold on to a judgment. We feel like someone is going to get away with something. The world isn't thinking about you the way you're thinking about you. The only thing that gets hurt when you don't forgive another is you, not the other person. It's never more for them than it is for you. You forgiving another doesn't let someone off the hook because their life is still something that is part of this overall larger karmic reality where they will have to deal with this in this lifetime or next here or somewhere else. No one escapes karma. No one escapes what we would call the justice of God, meaning nothing is outside of God. Nothing goes unnoticed. Nothing is better for another because they swindled you in some way. Internally, they are in hell. Internally, they are maybe worse off than where you find yourself, especially worse off if you're moving in the world of forgiveness and they're not. So quickly, as a recap, 4, made this inventory, which makes us have to see what it is that we're holding a grudge towards and where forgiveness is needed for ourselves and the world around us. 5, we share that information with another out loud, ourself and God simultaneously. 6, we are primed and ready for God to remove these things we found from the definition of who we are. 7, we give it to God. God, please take it. I freely give it to thee. 8, we make the amends list. Usually we use our 4-step, that inventory, to kind of inform that. 9, we reach out to make the amends. We're willing to reach out. We're willing to make things right. And where the possibilities present themselves, we move into step 9 and we make those amends, not to put ourselves in jeopardy in any way whatsoever. And when we make things right, we don't do anything that puts us into an indentured servitude or a slavery of any kind, or owing someone something in such a way that it physically is too demanding in a way where we're compromised. And that's a surrender into the forgiveness process. Forgiveness is much more than just saying, I forgive this person. How many times in your life have you just said, okay, I forgive them, but you don't. You hold on to it. You ruminate on it. The vast majority of mankind doesn't forgive their neighbor, doesn't know Jesus, doesn't walk in the footsteps of love, doesn't. The vast majority of mankind is filled with fear, has boxed themselves in, is hiding from truth, scared to see the mirror pointing back at them of who they actually are. But you don't have to be that any longer. You can dive more into each one of these aspects, going back into our catalog. You can see in our timestamp videos where we break these down even more. So in all of our videos on YouTube, for the most part, we have timestamps that take you into teaching moments where you can learn more about each of these aspects that you find important and go directly to that. But to kind of finish up, forgiveness is, again, the root of Christianity. It's the root of Jesus's message, the root of it, the embodiment of it. You don't need the religion to know Jesus. The religion doesn't allow you to know Jesus. Walking in Jesus's footsteps puts you into the direct path of knowing exactly who Jesus was and is. Exactly. When you're forgiving yourself and the world around you, you're being Jesus. When you're letting others off the hook, you're being Jesus. When you're looking at the sins of your past and you're giving them to God, you're being Jesus. When you're forgiving yourself because you didn't know what you're doing, you're being Jesus. When you're forgiving the world around you for how you feel it once wronged you, but for your opportunity to see truth in the fact that the world is just the world and the way that I see it is what's causing this pain, you're being Jesus. Go be Jesus for the world. Emulate his footsteps. Look into his teachings. Surrender your life to God. Forgive everyone all the time, around the clock, no matter what, and watch how your life changes. Again, I'm Mason Wooldridge. This is If You Live It. Join our community. There's no fees or dues. You don't have to sign anything. You can just start getting truth after truth after truth delivered to you. We have online meetings and in-person meetings starting in April 2025. Join one. Be part of it. See if this is for you. Start working the steps. Reach out. Talk about how you can go through these for yourself and find a sponsor. If you think this isn't for you, then God is not for you. If you think this isn't for you, then truth and life and love and forgiveness and surrender is not for you. I think most of you here, if you found it and you've reached this part, it's because it is for you. You have to pick a pathway and walk down it if you want to find heaven within. You have to go past religion and you have to start applying the religious figureheads' teachings into your steps to know the truth and validity of them. Faith is not choosing to believe what a religion says because a book says it. True faith is embodying what that book says and knowing the truth behind it so that you have the energy and power and response and courage needed when that faith is what's required to walk through the hail of bullets and the fear that surrounds what's next. I love you. Till next time, peace, happiness, joy. Get busy living. Yeah.